What's up guys, Nightingale here and welcome back to another video. Today I want to help you guys out with the summer preparations. Summer's officially here in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm really sorry to you guys in the Southern. We want to talk to you today about the summer and kind of what's going on. So we've got an overview here. We're going to go over the units, talk about how to prep some energy because it's going to be quite an expensive summer for you guys, and then also just a little of just generic summer preparations. And we're going to wrap this up. But let's kick off the video today here on my main account. And what we want to do today is kind of get you guys understanding the units and to know basically what's coming and what do you guys want to pull for, you know? We've got a very expensive summer for brand new players. You've got 3, potentially 4 new limited units on the way. Now, some of you already probably have 1 or a few of these, depending on when you started, but if you're brand new and just getting into the game, you're gonna have to make some decisions, and that's really what we're gonna be here for. This isn't a who you should summon for or anything like that. This is just me giving you a basic overview of some of the units, and today we're gonna start first off with Seaside Bellona. So we're gonna go here to the hero journal. We're gonna do this from inside of here versus showing you the actual units. So Seaside Bellona is a ice limited unit, a very interesting kit overall, and probably one of the most famous units in all of Epic 7. It's very weird how it seems like every new player that's brand new to the game knows about this unit, yet they've never heard about the game. For some reason, they know about Seaside Bellona. Well, that's right, it's getting to that time. While she's not going to be the first unit off this year, this is probably arguably the most notorious of them all, for several good reasons. I mean, she's a great ice ranger. She serves a lot of different purposes, and there's some things that she kind of needs to be retired out of because now things are just doing the job better. But overall, you've got a fantastic ice ranger. So let's talk about her kit and what is she providing to you. She's a very unique character, and depending on how you want to build her can determine how threatening this unit can end up. So her first and probably one of the cooler parts about her is this animation of the S3. Awesome job with this animation. All right, but she attacks all enemies with a 85% chance to make them unable to be buffed and unhealable for 2 turns, and critical hit will increase damage dealt. You can also soul burn this to ignore effect resistance. So the S3 is just a good AoE damage dealing skill, and chances are you're not using the unit for this skill. What you're actually using SSB for is her passive. Shocking. All right, so she directs 30% of the damage suffered by the caster to the foremost ally. So the one that sits in the leader spot, the gold crown icon spot, she's directing the damage towards them. So they're going to damage share each other, which means Arius and that unit do not stack. Keep that in mind. When 1 or more damage sharing effect is granted, only the strongest will be applied, which will take over. I think it's Arius ends up overriding this. The caster will gain 1 focus when an ally is attacked, meaning anybody that is hit will gain 1 focus. When the ally is attacked, and the caster's stacked focus is 5, loses all focus, and activates You're Not Cute. I'm not? Darn. Okay. You're Not Cute attacks all enemies with a fan with a 50% chance to defense break for 2 turns. This is what SSB is known for, is this skill right here, because it's basically putting a penalty up to the players as they are attacking units that if she's not dealt with and that skill goes off, it's going to be an AoE with a 50% chance to defense break your units. And this is actually where a lot of the damage comes from in her kit, is this constant chip damage from being activated with from allies being attacked. Now, another cool thing is she's got Song of Stars at plus 15 baked into her S1, which is why a lot of people tried to use her in Wyvern because of the debuffs. But honestly, at this point, she's better off being built for other things than being Wyvern, because we've got more options. So there's no point in fully investing into this unit when you can get away with this with a cheap 3-star. But she has target available here, and when this does land, this will help out because that is 15% damage received. Who doesn't want to put more damage out? So SSB is a really unique hero. Also, we'll just go ahead and say that her imprint concentration is effectiveness, but I use the team release is what I use. as far as SSB, most of her damage that you're going to see is her S1 and her passive. That's one of the crazy things. Something else to point out here is this unit is extremely hard countered by Roana. And chances are, since summer's around, you can be willing to bet Roana will eventually be showing up, which is a Grass Soul Weaver. Is the kryptonite for this unit. But there are other things out there, and it's not always something you have to worry about, especially when it comes to PvP and things like that. It's not always something you have to worry about. But overall, this is a great unit. You're going to have a lot of fun using her. I had a lot of fun in Abyss with her. I think we used her a good bit between, I think it was the late 70s to high 90s. We were trying to get SSB in there a good bit. It was somewhere around in there. Keep in mind, it's been a little over a year since I was doing Abyss from the 70 to 100 range. So it's been a while. But overall, a great PvE and PvP unit. Really, the goal for what you're going to be after is get that Abyss 88 set. Pop it on her, SSB is built. I also have a video already on the channel. It's going to be about a year old now. It's still current. If you want to go see more about SSB, that video is available as well. If you haven't seen her animation, we're not going to spoil it. We're going to wait for you to hopefully pull her. Or you just go into the game and spoil it for yourself. Next up, we are going to talk about the unit that is actually being run first for us. By the time you watch this, hopefully the unit is out, or it may be just finishing up, depending on where you're at. So you may have a little bit of haste depending on what's going on, but the next unit we're going to talk about is Summertime Iseria. Summertime Iseria is a Fire Ranger and has a little more unique kit than other units. Now, is this unit a PvE unit? Absolutely not. This unit is basically, you're buying this unit with your bookmarks to have a PvP investment later on. Very little will be gained from the way her kit works. And we're going to talk about artifacts after we talk about the units, but for right now, just know that both SSB and Summer Iseria are both going to be pretty dependent upon their actual artifacts. While SSB has a little bit more room, she does not. So let's talk about Iseria's kit and what is she good for. So she's got Swords of the Flowers, which attacks all enemies with a sword of flowers, decreasing attack for 2 turns and increased speed of the caster for 2 turns. At the end of the turn, detonates bombs inflicted on the enemy. Now, bombs is going to be part of her kit, and these are going to be damage. It is at the end of the debuff duration, the target receives damage proportional to the caster's attack and is stunned for 1 turn. The debuff duration cannot extend or decrease, and stun ignores effect resistance, so you can't ER your way out of the stun. Very tragic. Now, this is really where her kit's going to start taking off as well, is her passive. Kind of get the hint. The passives are what's making these the summer units. So any future summer units, it's probably their passive is what's making them. Now, this case, she will increase her attack. Of course, right now it is 35%. When attacking, cannot trigger a critical hit, which also changes how you build her, because if she can't take critical hit, those are completely dead and wasted stats. Does not cost any souls to activate the caster's first soul burn. Keep that in mind. So she gets a free soul burn after an ally, except for the caster, uses an attack that targets all enemies, activates Suppress. Can only be activated once every 3 turns, and Suppress increases combat readiness of all allies by 15% and plants a bomb on 2 random enemies for 2 turns. Now, that can be resisted when it comes to planting the bombs, so keep that in mind. Now, this is really cool because it is a unit that allows you now to have less investment into gear overall, because you can now focus it into a few more spots. Which also kind of creates another issue, because this is pretty unique gear. You've probably thrown away at this point, depending on where you've been playing, I'm gonna take a bet you've probably thrown her gear away, not realizing you needed it. The basics there, she's gonna be after attack, effectiveness, speed, and bulk. And a little bit of bulk, I should say, just so that she doesn't get just popped. But chances are you probably passed over that because you're trying to think about Wyvern team and you're trying to get set up for other hunts or just basic PvE or basic PvP. So you're not going to be looking at things that have no crit damage. Kind of weird for you at this point, but that's one of the reasons why you need to understand this. Next up is her S1, which is Are You the Culprit? Attacks the enemy with a sword with a 60% chance to each to dispel 2 buffs. Keep in mind. So, and then her soul burn here grants her an extra turn. Now, the reason why this is important is a lot of people will soul burn this trying to land her bombs. This is also what is for free. You get to do this once. So you get a chance to dispel 2 buffs, and if they resist, well, cool. Then they're going to have to go at it again. Now they got to have either 2 actual souls, or they've been saving up to be able to burn this. So they either brought a book burner, a book holder, or they've waited around to be able to burn it again. So we'll talk about her artifact in a minute and why that's important for her kit. But overall, she is a PvP focused character. You're not going to expect this character to go out into your normal PvE. This isn't going to help you in Abyss. Or at least I don't think, if any, there's not a single Abyss stage I could think of, especially even before this, that I was like, oh yeah, bombs totally for this. She's a PvP character. Let's just keep it for what it is. Keep her at that. Don't try to force it because it's a little weird. All right, next up is the final known holiday unit is Holiday Yufine, a fire warrior. They love their fire units. Now, why I'm also bringing up this one last is because I'm also hoping this is the last one to show up. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But Holiday Yufine is an interesting fire warrior, and I mean, I understand why you want to pull this unit. But hear me out. Okay, so let's talk about her kit, because her kit is actually kind of unique for what it is. She got a buff last summer, and honestly, what we're really hoping is she gets another buff this year. Just so that we can take her out of being super niche and usable in a very few comps to being a little more usable, is all I would love to see. I don't want them to break the unit. We don't need to add any absurd extra tags to this thing, but just being able to open up her kit a little bit more to give you a little bit more variety so that it's not just this one only really option or 2 little options on things and that's it. So Holiday Yufine dispels 2 debuffs from all allies, attacks all enemies in the middle of a night market. Also a really cool S3, by the way. Before granting the caster increased attack greater for 2 turns. You know what that means. Increases the combat readiness of all allies by 20%. Now, this is cool because it's a CR push for all allies, plus it's giving her greater attack buff. You know what that stands for. So, a pretty interesting concept. You've got a unit that can grant herself greater attack buff, dispels buff, and CR pushes in an S3. It's a pretty interesting idea. But now let's come over to her passive, because again, as I said, the theme of summer tends to be their passives are what's making the unit. So now let's check this out. Let's eat together. Reduces the effect of decreased combat readiness debuffs inflicted on all allies by 30%. So when there is decreased speeds and stuff like that, she helps reduce that type of stuff. The skill effect does not stack with other passive skills of the same name, and increases evasion by 20%, and increases evasion by an additional 50% when the caster is at max health. So she's got 70% evasion at max health, which makes it very hard to get a hold of her early on in the fight. Once you start chipping her down, then it gets a little bit easier to get to her. But as long as you are able to maintain her and keep her at that higher end health, makes this a little bit more formidable to deal with. And also it looks like she can get up to, what, that's 10, 11, so 20, I'm assuming is what that's adding up to. So 50%, it's a pretty big deal, or 45. No, it's 50. It looks 50. And then just 1 bite. Now this one's an interesting skill. So check this out. Attacks the enemy by tearing up a food market with a 45% chance to burn for 1 turn. When used on the caster's turn, so this is where it doesn't work on counter set and why you want to build it that, just 1 bite becomes an attack that targets all enemies. Charged attack is unaffected by elemental disadvantage, so it means it will always hit everybody, and does not trigger a dual attack, so you can't bring somebody else along the way. So it brings her around to having a little bit of an interesting kit. So it means if you're going into water, it's going to hit as if it's type neutral. So water against water. It won't hit like it is grass, but it won't hit like a normal fire to water unit. It'll at least hit. So it gives it a little bit of an interesting tech. Now, here's why I said that we want to talk about this, is she really does need a buff. There's just something, and it's really hard to get into this into too much detail without like making one group mad or another, but let's just basically put it this way. Her kit is interesting and it can work, but you have to understand where to put it in the game to make this viable. This isn't something you're gonna really use in PvE. Now, I know some of you that were hanging around from maybe, let's say, the beginning of the Ultimate Beginner's Handbook may have seen on stream me using Holiday Yufine in Ancient Inheritance. Keep in mind, that's Ancient Inheritance. She was scaled through the roof. So yes, I needed an AoE warrior and I had an AoE warrior. So she filled a role for me, but that doesn't mean she is a PvE unit. She's really not. This is a PvP unit and a niche one at that. All I would like to see is for them to go into her kit and maybe find a way to add a little something that doesn't completely ignore stats, completely ignore mechanics, but just a little something to help bring her up into a little bit more viability. Do I know what that is? No, but I hope that's the direction they can go into. Now, we talked about the units. Let's talk about their artifacts, and then we'll kind of talk about them all together. So if we go here to artifacts, which I don't realize that I can't believe I've been looking right over that. Let's talk about, first off, which would be probably one of the most notorious known ones out there, is Rengar's special drink. Now, new players, I'm gonna here to break your free-to-play hearts, and I am so sorry. I wish I had a cookie to give you, but here you go. Here's the painful truth about this, and let's just go on and rip the band-aid off. You're gonna need her artifact max to actually have the SSB you have been told about, that you've heard about, or that you've truly seen in action. Most of those SSBs have a max level Rengar special drink. This is also what partially makes her kit, because that extra chip damage that is coming off drink really does hurt. And especially the higher end you build the attack on Rengar special drink, the harder this hits. Now, this is where people get into this weird argument of, do we build her with crit chance or we don't build her with crit chance? It really comes down to what do you want to do and how does it function for you? But to me, when I see something that is scaling off just attack, I want my attack to be higher because I want that to do more damage. Now, you can go out and do the math and see if it works better for you and your build to build her on crit chance, but you may be sacrificing another stat along the way because you're going to have to bake into two. So this is one that you're gonna have to chase after. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the pulling of this. Keep in mind, we have to consider this. Chasing artifacts is never guaranteed. So that leaves you to the powder shop. Buying it for powder is completely and 100% an option, and I do actually recommend people do so. Do you need multiple copies of this for units? No, you don't. You're gonna need one. And chances are you're never gonna really ever be in a situation where you're gonna be using 2 drinks back to back. Let's be real. But if you eventually get to that point, cool, congratulations. I applaud you for pulling on her banner that deep. But for most free-to-play players, you're probably gonna end up having to do this. Now, you've heard me already say you're gonna need this maxed. Don't panic, there is a way around it, and that is with the bottle of knowledge from the powder shop. It allows you to limit break an artifact. So if you get a drink, now you're basically in the market of just bottling it, if you don't want to go too deep, because you do have a lot coming. And it's we're talking just the summer units. We're not talking about what comes after that, which we will briefly mention. But this is an artifact that you will want to get the most value out of it because it's 75% chance to proc at plus 15, but you're going to want the 100% chance to proc so that you get that extra damage, or else it's not really SSB. Now, the next one is just as freaking painful, which is Star of the Deep Sea, which this is Summer Iseria's artifact. When a non-critical hit is made, which is baked into her kit, she has, when using a basic skill, so her S1, the Free Soul Burn, has a 100% chance, when it's maxed, to place a bomb on the target for 2 turns. This effect can only be applied to single attacks and is not activated by a counterattack, dual attack, or extra attack, and no fun. While as toxic as it would be, I would rather them lower the chance, let that be able to be done on counter, and come up with some really fun ideas. Why not? Let's watch the world burn. If we're gonna go at it, take the training wheels off, Smilegate. Let's go. Let's have some fun with some of this stuff. Come on. But let's be real. So her kit is basically built around this. She does not really function without this artifact. When you're looking at a Summer Iseria comp, you're looking at a AoE opener. You're looking at, that's got to be lightning fast, faster than her, and typically going first because you're trying to get all this stuff to fire off before they can ever do anything. You'll want to have the ability to land as many bombs as possible, and then kaboom when she hits her S3. So, she's a unique playstyle, and again, exclusively PvP at this point. Now, the final artifact we're going to talk about is also one I hope kind of gets a little bit of love and tenderness, care, but honestly, when it does go off currently, it's kind of trolly to have. I've actually seen a Conqueror Lilius with this, and I got stunned by it, and I'm going, wow. You thought outside the box, and I love it. I was not expecting that. But it caught me off guard. I didn't pay attention to the artifact proc when it fired off. So it increases the effectiveness by 30% with a 26% chance to stun the enemy for 1 turn after using a basic skill. This effect is not activated by a counterattack, dual attack, or extra attack, and no fun. Again, they're very adamant on making sure that this crap can't be having any fun. But is this an artifact you should be chasing after? No. If you get it along the way, cool. If you got to collect them all, which again, I don't recommend doing, but you can. Somebody can use it in your team, but would I recommend doing this? I know why they suggest using this on Holiday Yufine, but I wouldn't go after this. And maybe if they do some tweaks to it, you have to keep in mind, though, this stun chance is technically higher than Abyssal Crown. So this is basically this is the Warrior's version of Abyssal Crown. So as far as the 3 units together, here's what you kind of want to look at. You as a free-to-play player have a lot going on right now. You've got Summer Iseria about to drop in 2 days from me recording this video. Hopefully it'll be either out today or tomorrow morning first thing. I don't know yet, but we'll see which one happens. So you've got Summer Iseria going to come first. That's a 2-week banner. Now, you're going to have, after that, we don't know who's next. Could be SSB, it could be Holiday Yufine. Again, I'm hoping that Holiday Yufine is the last of these 3 so that it's getting us as close to possible to a balance patch, which is something we really need, I think, for her. I think if we can get Holiday Yufine around a balance patch, it'd be great. I think a little bit of tweaking can really bring this unit to life, and that's what I want to see. People just never been truly excited about her, but she works for some certain comps. I'm not saying she doesn't work. It's just, it's so hard to make it work. So if we can break that barrier a little bit, I would love to see more. Obviously, it goes without saying, SSB is probably the most popular summer unit of them all, and some of you who started at the Ultimate Beginner's Handbook have already pulled Summer Seaside Bellona, and that's great. Technically, it's better for you to be doing it now than it was on that banner, and the reason for this, and especially for those of you who are going into Summer Iseria, is this is going to give you the ability to get the most amount. If you're going to full send it, I mean, you're going deep. This will now give you the best chance to ratio of getting the unit and the artifact, because at this point the artifact will be a banner just like this, but it'll say limited and it will be their banner. So if we come over here to the rates, what you need to know is she will have all these units will have a 1% chance to get the unit, and then let's scrub over here, and now you have a 1.05% chance to get the actual artifact. And this isn't split 3 ways. This is what I tried to argue with you guys in the comments section who were so adamant that you wanted to pull Seaside Bellona now. You wanted, or in this case, next year it could be Summer Iseria. You want to make sure that you have the highest chance of getting that artifact and not the others. While yes, your odds are stacked completely against you for this, because there's way bigger options of you getting that, you would rather the chance, if it's going to hit the artifact, that it's the artifact you're actually after. Split 3 ways in those group banners were great if you're just trying to obtain it, but when you're trying to focus pull something that needs to be 30, this is the best case scenario, because I've happened to get lucky before, and I've been able to get most of an artifact limit broken on the way up, and then there have been times where I had to buy it for powder. Yulha is one of those. I had to buy her artifact for powder. I didn't get lucky and get it on the way. But she's not a unit that I want to go pursuing for duplicates of. She's a normal summonable unit. At least in this case, Iseria isn't run often, but at least with our summer Iseria dupes, you're at least going into that. Or Bellona, you're at least imprinting for her. So there is some value there for you. Yufine, you don't really need to imprint the Holiday Yufine, but getting at least a copy and moving on is okay. Okay, so the next thing that we want to talk to you about is the energy prep and getting you guys ready for a lot of grinding coming over the next several weeks. And what we basically want to look at is this. You are going to have up to 3 side stories that are going to be about 3 weeks long in content-wise. Now, I'm assuming that the typical thing they do around here is they accelerate them. So if they were 3-week-long events and they're only going to try to cap it into 2 weeks, they're going to accelerate it and you will have 2 weeks to do 3 weeks worth of content. Now, that being said, it's not as terrifying as and as daunting as it may appear. Let me put it to you this way. Basically, they were shorter events. They weren't super energy intensive, but you had to go through and buy out a little bit of this week, buy out a little bit of that week, buy out a little bit the next week. It's not super energy intensive, but you need to get ready to spend energy for these things. So you'll want to make sure you go through and you get your ad energy. You'll want to make sure that you go through and get your event energy. You'll want to make sure that you are doing friendship energy and just trying to balance, because you're going to have a lot of stuff that you will have to deal with around the stories, because you will want to make sure you get all the stuff. You'll have all sorts of events that, you know, they'll have it's really cool. I can't wait for the new players that have never experienced it in the summer events. You're in for a cool time. While I don't really like a couple of the stories mini games, but hey, you know what? Some of you actually enjoyed it, and you know, that's the bigger thing. I'm more excited for you guys to experience this than I am for me to have to go back through and deal with the volleyball event. But seriously, it is you've got a lot of cool stuff coming your way. What I would recommend do is just try to pace yourself. You don't have to burn through this in one day. All this content can be beat off your normal daily energy. Newer accounts have one advantage over older accounts, and that is as you're leveling up, you get an energy refresh every time you level up. Now, a lot of you are going to be a little bit further than that, just because chances are by the time you beat the story and to unlock this stuff, you're probably past some of that early game leveling stuff. But just note that you do get levels when you will get energy based off of when you level up. You'll want to store as much energy as you possibly can. So if you don't need it, don't spend it, save it for that. We've got a couple days left for you to start bulking up some energy. We'll know tomorrow, so when I do the update notice video tomorrow, maybe today, depending on when you're watching this video, but or it may be in the past. Who knows? But right now, if I get this video out today, the video for update notice will be out tomorrow, and we'll have all the information on what's going to be going on with that. But you'll have a couple days to start getting prepared to put a little bit of energy together for it to drop late Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So start working on that and try to balance the grind between your priority is the side story, and then you start going back around to, okay, was I working on hunts? Do I need to get geared? Do I need to get catalyst for the hunts? You want to work on it that way. The summer story, getting that beat is your priority, and then as soon as you're done with that, you move back in and you go on with your life. And then when the next one drops, the next story, go into that and work on it that way. Now, the last thing that we want to talk about in general is just summer prep. And this is just to get your mentality wrapped around this. It's going to be a very busy summer. Expect all of July to be filled with summer-based events. So we don't know what else could be coming and what else could be dropping, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that your resources are going to get taxed, okay? That's just being real. But play efficiently and play smart is going to unlock so much more for you along the way. You'll have potentially 4 limited units to have to worry about right now. Hopefully it's 3. I really hope it's 3 just to keep this summer chill, because we're going to have a very expensive summer, which we're about to cover in just a minute. So you're going to have potentially this side story that's about to drop. Then I'm assuming when we get Seaside Bellona, we're going to get that accelerated story, which is where you're going to get a super duper water gun shooter is that event. And then when they release the new character, That's when I'm assuming we're going to get the full 3-week long event. So I'm going to take a guess that we're probably getting if I'm going off math, I'm assuming we've got about 10 weeks of side story for summer, which will get you through almost all of August. Now, I said that there's something else that we need to talk about, and that is the collaborations. Just to put this out here so that you are informed and you do know, you may want to skip some of these summer units, depending on where you're at. Why? Is because there is another collab that still has yet to be rerun that they said they're going to rerun. Now, I can tell you from just tradition, Slime came around September. And that is Rimuru and Malim. Could they add a new unit? Maybe. But I want to go ahead and let you know and put all the cards out on the table that, do you really need those units? Maybe, maybe not. Now, just knowing that that's there, it's something else you have to think about in the consideration for making the wise choice. Sure, they're going to be putting events and they're going to be pumping currency into this. Keep in mind that, again, the average person can get 1 pity a month off of Covenants just playing the game efficiently. That means not being lazy, only playing for a few minutes, logging off, saying you did a couple dailies. That's not what we mean by efficiently. We mean actually playing and grinding the game, putting a time investment into it. Those players can get basically a pity a month between normal bookmarks and Skystones and converting them over to bookmarks. So that's only going to give you about 2 months from, let's say, tomorrow to get 2 pities. So now you're basically looking at a summer unit, maybe 2, and then maybe a collab unit, depending on how and where you are in the game. We're just trying to keep it real here so that you guys understand the commitments that are potentially to be made. Now, does this mean that you need to play the ultra hoarding game of, oh, I'm going to skip everything? No, I'm not trying to get you to do that either. I'm just wanting you to know that I don't want you to spend all your currencies and then say, all right, I got all the summer units, I'm good. And then they drop the slime and you're going, oh, I wish I'd have known that that was coming. That's what we're trying to prevent. We're just trying to make sure that you know what is going to be happening over the entire summer. You're going to have a lot of other cool stuff. I'm sure we're going to get another Advent side story, which is going to be super energy intensive. Hopefully that comes after all of the side stories, because that's very energy draining. Hopefully we get another Ancient Inheritance. I would love for that to show up. It's about due for one according to how they started running them. So we should be getting one over the summer. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming this way that was promised to us. We're supposed to start having more of the astrological signs being buffed. So that's going to change how some units function and get some micro buffs in that. We've got sets being worked on. Okay, cool. Let's see what your ideas are. We've got new sets eventually coming. We're still waiting on the Grace of Unity. Oh, I can't wait for the Grace of Unity. I am so excited to teach you guys about that when it shows up. That's going to be such a great tool for content creators, and it's going to be such a great tool for you guys trying to learn new units and being able to get a hold of that once you get a little more established in the game. There's so much, and I can't wait to see how the summer is going to fold out. What other stories are they going to end up telling? I'm excited to see the new summer side story, if there is a new one. The last 3 have been really cool, and I enjoyed reading the stories. They were interesting, and I think if you are the person who doesn't click the little skip button at the top, you're going to also enjoy them as well. So the last little bit of advice I can give to you guys is just be patient. The game is a marathon. It is not a race. Don't try to compete with your friends in, oh, they pulled this, so I've got to go pull this, or they beat it in this amount of time, so now I have to beat it. Just enjoy it. It's going to be a cool, long thing, and then once we come out of the summer, we're going to start Anniversary at the end of August. We'll start up that whole cool, crazy process, and you'll be in for a lot of rewards, a lot of cool stuff, and it's a good time to be playing Epic 7. Well, yeah, not everything is perfect, but there's a lot of really cool things that are coming, and it's just making the game that much better for the new player. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments below. I will try to help out the best that I can. I know that this is probably not the most inclusive guide on getting ready for summer, but I wanted to give you guys just a heads up on where to go and what to start expecting, because Is this everything that's going to be happening? No, they're going to surprise us with all sorts of stuff, but I at least wanted to give you guys a heads up on roughly where it's going to be going and what you should expect out of it. So you got 3 summer units, a potential of 4th, and then potential of at least 2, maybe even 3 collab units in like the next 4 months. Good luck. So y'all take care, enjoy, and we'll see you in the next one.